And as I said, welcome everybody. My name is Zach, and a lot of you may have met me. Um, I am the logistics lead for Alliance North, and I've been actively involved in helping set up the exercise and speaking to a lot of you and different partner organizations. I've got 20 years of basically project management, account management, stakeholder engagement, business development, international business development, and I have a 4-year degree in international political science and emergency disaster studies. I have a college diploma in wildlife conservation, and I also am a certified business continuity professional. I've worked in municipal management, I've worked in international business, I've worked for Manitoba Emergency Measures Organization, and most recently, I've been working as a firefighter here in Ontario. And to add to it, I'm also a certified drone pilot. So, kind of a bunch of different skills. I am, as mentioned, the logistics lead for Alliance North, and also the host for this call. But you can reach out to me after the call if you need at any point, and I can help move information along if you have questions or concerns. Before we start kind of the content of the meeting, I just wanted to go over a couple quick ground rules here. First is that obviously, as Chirag mentioned, let's try and keep the microphones muted if we can, so that I'm not over talking or people aren't over talking a bunch of noise. There'll be an opportunity later for questions. You'll also notice in the chat box um, is a good place to put questions. So that's that bubble you see in the lower right hand of your screen. We have a couple of volunteers that are going to be basically taking those questions, and then we'll be able to answer them at the end. So if you do have questions during this call, you'll either have a chance to raise your hand at the end of the call, or obviously you can put that into the chat, and then we'll do our best to answer those questions as well. Um, Cameras are optional. It's obviously nice to see everybody, but at the same time, obviously, we understand that that's not entirely possible all the time. I would ask if it is possible, if you are speaking near the end, to just turn your camera on so people can kind of see you and identify um, who you are. Um, a general reminder as well, there are 2 video links, orientation videos that are basically on the events page on the website. So those would be a very good, I think 15 minutes or so to go through those orientation videos at some point, just to familiarize yourself with the exercise, what's going to be happening. And also the exercise plan will be posted too. We've been working on a draft so far, and we've been working to finalize that as well as things have been changing. So that will also be available shortly for everybody to look through and see, and then that should also help alleviate some of the questions. So the first kind of introductions that we're going to do here is I'm going to introduce Mark and Trog, the co-founders of Alliance North, and they're just going to give themselves a brief introduction and a little bit of information here so that everybody's aware of who they are and what we're doing. Mark, I'll let you go first.
I'll let Chirag go first, actually, because I'll follow up with the VIAC.
Sounds good. Well, great to meet everyone. It's all finally coming together, and it's so nice to see everyone on the same call. My name's Chirag. I am one of the co-founders of Alliance North with Mark. Just a little bit about myself. My background is in medicine, so I'm currently a medical student at Queen's University. I did my undergrad also in the medical field at the University of Toronto, and I was an air cadet. So that's my connection to aviation. Was also involved in the BC flood response in 2021. A group of local pilots ferried hundreds of thousands of pounds of supplies and people out to remote communities who were cut off from the floods. So that's sort of where, for me at least, the connection between aviation, general aviation, and emergencies sort of came about, and why we're sort of pushing that idea today. I want to introduce Alliance North as both an organization and a concept before we start here. So Alliance North was founded about 2 years ago, and our mission at Alliance North is to promote general aviation as a community resource. At its base, there are planes and pilots and communities across the country, and very skilled people, very intricate aircraft and useful infrastructure that can be used to support communities. So whether that's flying patients to from remote communities to cities to see patients, what Hope Air does, whether that's flying an injured owl back to be rehabilitated, or whether it's flying emergency flights like we're going to do today. There's a lot that general aviation has to offer. And at Alliance North, we put together programs and platforms so that GA pilots can access those opportunities and that communities become aware of general aviation as a resource available to them to support their needs as well. I'll hand it over to Mark there for his intro and a bit about the VIAC.
Great. Thanks, Trog, and thanks, Zach, for doing so much to get us ready for today. I agree. It's great to see everybody. It's especially rewarding to me because under Alliance North, as Trog said, we've got a number of initiatives. One of those initiatives is, of course, our Volunteer Emergency Air Corps. We have had the pilots meeting before. This is the first time we're bringing the pilots and our emergency management partners together. So I won't go into a lot of detail about my background, but I certainly have a passion for both aviation and emergency management. Both of those are in my background. More recently, however, I am doing a number of aviation-related initiatives, trying to Vice President of the Toronto Island Pilot Association and on the Billy Bishop Toronto Island Airport Steering Committee, as well as on the Board of Directors for the Canadian Wings of Rescue, and trying to see what we can do here at Alliance North as well. So it's great to see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people I've spoken to in person, and there's a popular adage among emergency managers about disasters aren't the time to be trading business cards. So emergency managers understand that. And also I hear a lot on the aviation side, and many pilots will be familiar with the phrase about pilots are always learning. So to me, bringing together a couple of my passions and these two groups, knowing them fairly intimately from both sides, I always thought this was a perfect marriage of something that we could all have a common interest in, which is helping others. Many have heard me use the phrase, I use it a lot, that the only thing better than flying is flying with a purpose. And there's no better purpose than when people are in crisis and have needs. And a lot of those needs are met by many of our emergency management partners. And I really, truly believe that there's a gap where private pilots who want to help, who want to fly for good, who want to use their skill sets, who want to use their aircraft, airports who want to offer their services, who have a lot to offer. There's just a tremendous potential there that we have yet to see. So that's where the Volunteer Emergency Air Corps has come in. We've come quite a ways, but they're all things that people don't see. The boring documents, the plans, the GA emergency response plan. But that's going to change starting September the 27th when we actually get to make it real. This will be the first time we're actually putting aircraft in the air and actually testing parts of our plan that we can tangibly test and get some feedback on. So that's the main focus of our exercise. I would say the real fringe benefit is being able to network and making sure that we're not just changing business cards on the eve of a disaster, but that we start to build some relationships and some partnerships that I think can be very long-standing partnerships and very worthwhile for the communities that we all have a common interest in serving. So thanks very much for the opportunity to just welcome everybody and get those kind of remarks up front. And I'll turn it back over to Zach to work us through the rest of our hour here.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Chirag. For those that have joined us in the last few minutes, just letting you know that there'll be an opportunity for kind of a questions and answers at the end. So by either raising your hand or you're welcome to put those into the chat as well that we'll be answering as well. So um, excellent. So I want to just kind of introduce basically the different players and the partners that are going to be involved in the exercise. And basically, there's a ton of different partners, and we're defining a player as somebody that has an active role within the exercise. So when I'm introducing yourselves, maybe just take a minute to either put your hand up or wave and turn your camera on just so people can have a quick see who you are. Um, So let's start with the VIAC emergency response team. Um, and the first one is going to be the EOC director. That's Mark. We have the incident commander for the exercise. That's going to be Mosen. Uh, there he is. The air operations chief, which is Anson. Our VIAC duty officer, which is Horace. Our information officer, Cheryl.
Everyone.
And then the transport coordinators from the Canadian Wings of Rescue that will be helping us coordinate aircraft on that day as well. Okay, our York University partners, Addersim Lab, and which is actually our VIAC physical location if we ever required to have one, and it's in EOC. I know Francesco's on the call, so just maybe say hi.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Um, awesome. Thanks, Francesco. And then, of course, all of the volunteer pilots that are also on the call, please just take a minute and just turn your cameras on or say hi or wave.
Good afternoon.
Perfect.
I think last look, we've got about, so everybody's wondering, I think we've got about 15 pilots now registered with a few more kind of in the wings. So thanks to all the pilots for joining.
Perfect. Okay, and then the next introductions is going to be the emergency management, the organization players. And again, just like I said, quick thumbs up or a wave. The first one obviously is going to be Salvation Army Disaster Services. That's Trevor.
Audrey.
Oh, other Trevor. But and then York University, the emergency management programs from York. Queen's University, the Wilderness Medical Program. I know that it's Hayden. He was unable to make the meeting today, but he did send his regards and that he will be watching the video after. So, um, Radio Amateurs Canada. Jason. Okay, and then Global Medic, which is Michelle. Ontario Search and Rescue Volunteer Association. This is Susan. So this is the K9 teams. CDRO, which is Canadian Disaster Response Organization. Jim and George.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And then we also have the Civilian Military Cooperation. I'm not sure if Martin is on the call or not, but CIMIC.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Al.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Okay, so those are
As well.
hey guys. So those are the main players that we have for the exercise. I just want to acknowledge a few others that are attending the call and have worked with us to make this happen. From the city of Stratford, obviously the mayor's office, the airport manager, and the airport support volunteers, fire chief, deputy fire chief, as well as community emergency management coordinator for the city of Stratford. They've been very proactive and extremely helpful in helping us set this up. So obviously a big thank you to them, and we look forward to meeting them in person on the 27th. At this point, I just want to start now to have a quick look at the event schedule. And I think Mark's going to present just the schedule quickly so that people have a general idea of what the timeline is on that day, what will be happening. Okay, so as you can see, between 8 and 9:30 in the morning, basically, we're going to have basically the flight starting to depart from their home bases and pickups basically at the various airports in terms of cargo and anything else that's coming along. The arrivals at Stratford are scheduled between 9:30 and 10:30. 10:30 to 11 is the static booth displays in the hangar. And this is a few of the emergency management organizations that are going to be presenting some information. This is not a public facing event, so this will be more geared towards networking within the organizations themselves. And then of course, 11:15 to 2 o'clock is going to be kind of informal network information exchange displays. We're planning a cargo demo and airport safety session. And this is basically going to be cargo that Global Medic will be sending. And the training will be the volunteers from Salvation Army that will also be having a canteen and food truck on location as well. But they're going to do basically a quick demonstration on how to properly load and unload small aircraft, as well as an airport safety session. Um, in the future, we're planning to do this with multiple different groups within organizations that are going to be participating in this exercise and other ones as well, because this is something that has been very asked for quite a bit to make sure that a lot of different organizations have volunteers that are able to unload load safety and just no airport safety. So that will be one of them. And then of course at 11:45, we'll be doing the Queen University and York University, the team demo. So this will be a wilderness medical scenario using a drone. And it's going to be a lost or stranded hiker, simulated, where the drone will identify where that person is. And of course, the wilderness medical team will then make their way to that individual and provide emergency response. Salvation Army is going to be providing kind of a lunch. There's no set time for this lunch. It's just going to be soup, and it's going to be snacks and refreshments that are available while you're there. So again, big thank you to Salvation Army for coming out and for bringing their canteen truck, which will be parked outside the hangar. And around 1 o'clock, we'll be doing kind of the EOC debriefing in the hangar and the flight reviews. Around that time as well, we're going to ask if anybody wants of the emergency organizations to take a 5 to 7 minute kind of presentation to kind of talk about the services that your organization provides. This would be around the time that would be happening. It's not mandatory, but obviously if you're there and you'd like to speak a little bit about what your organization does, that would be great. And we'd love to hear about it. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to be doing kind of the debriefing, the hot wash, how the exercise went. And basically, after that, the planes are going to start departing. And that's going to be between about 2:30 or so when we're leaving. So generally, the events will be happening around, like I said, between 10:30 and 1:30. But, as we've maybe said a few times in kind of our information and some of the stuff we put out there, our main for Alliance North is to basically have to test the ability of our aircraft to move personnel and cargo in the simulated disaster. So in reality, by the time our planes arrive, most of the actual exercise for us will have been accomplished by that point. The rest of it will be basically kind of seen as more of an event. That being said, different organizations will still be doing different scenarios at that point. Some of them at Stratford and some of them at other locations, which will be basically we'll be providing information on while we're there. So this will be as in a dashboard that will be viewable at the airport itself. So that being said, we're sitting at around 25 minutes into the call. Mark, is there anything like you'd add before we want to get into, or Chirag, before we get into kind of the questions and answers?
Nothing specific from me, thanks, Zach, but yeah, just to highlight what you said, I think that 1 o'clock time followed by the debriefing, is going to be a really important time. So as you said, that is an opportunity. We're basically envisioning that any of the partners that flew in, especially, obviously we're not arriving at a real disaster, thank goodness. But our exercise is pretty much over at that point, as Zach said. So that is a time to kind of say, if this had been a real disaster, here is what the services our organization would have provided, and just how that relates to being able to add using small aircraft as transportation means to your organization. So I think that will be interesting. I think we do have some media attention on this as well. So we can talk a little bit more about, how to position that. But I think we're promoting everybody in this event. So as one collective, but also individually, there should be some opportunities here to, activate your communications people respectively. And we do have Cheryl with us today, who will be our information officer for the event. And we are also, keeping an eye on that. So there'll be lots of opportunities for some planned picture taking and events. So use that all to your advantages, I would say. But that's what all that I can add. I think the rest may come out of any questions we'll get.
Sure, just to touch on that quickly, Mark, if possible, we're going to be asking organizations and some of our volunteer pilots to take some pictures and videos, and that will be used later on basically as promotional and awareness material. So that's something that we will be asking of all the different areas and all the different airports. Especially, we will be having some volunteers will be doing that in Stratford, but some of the locations where you're being picked up from as well. Some of that pictures and videos would be very helpful. So please keep that in mind. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Trevor and Chirag to basically answer some of the questions that we have here. So if you have a question, like I said, please raise your hand and or put it in the chat, and then we'll get to it here.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, great job, guys. I think this is awesome. You guys bringing this all together and combining these two services. It's much needed. I was just wondering, Zach, in part of this prep and delivery, will you be collecting emails and contact information from this entire group so that maybe it could be sent out to everybody and we can further develop relationships after this?
Yeah, absolutely, we could. I would say it's more of a, if people want to be involved in that group, they can be. I'm not going to just grab everybody's email, but I think that, we can basically form a list from that we're able to provide information on. Because I think that's a great idea moving forward, not just for this exercise, but also for future ones and future planning. So.
Just to your point, Jason, we'd like to keep doing practices together. So whether the next exercise is something we lead or somebody else from this group leads, but we'd like to be a part of. So I think that's great to carry on that conversation amongst ourselves with the EM folks to be able to keep going with some of the stuff we're doing now.
Yeah, so we'll put in a release. We'll somehow make sure we get permission from everybody. But assuming everybody's willing to do that, I think it's a great idea.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. And yes, we've already been in talks with Zach about some future developments between you and RAC.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jason. Appreciate your support always. Antoine, go ahead.
Yeah, practical question. I saw this morning that there was some kind of emergency certificate or something that we need to pass prior to the event. Also kind of training we need to take online. So beside the 2 introductory video.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Antoine. So the certificate that Antoine's talking about is the General Aviation Emergency Response Certificate, the GAERC, that we've developed with York University. So It is going to be open to pilots. I just want to clarify, you don't have to complete that or do that before the event. The only requirements to do before the event are watch the 2 videos, and there should be like 6-7 minutes each. So just watch those 2 videos. You should be set for the event. If you'd like to take a stab at the course, absolutely, we can help you with that. But the course is basically designed for GA pilots to take to understand the EM world a bit better, what they're jumping into in terms of being a VAC pilot. And after completing that course, you get a certificate from York University and the SciFal unit, which is through the United Nations Institute for Training and Research. But essentially, that will quote unquote qualify you as an emergency response pilot with the VAC. But again, no requirement to do that before this exercise. We'll be talking more about it during the exercise, and you'll have access to it afterwards as well. So you can complete it at your own pace afterwards.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thanks, Antoine. Go ahead, Phil. Oh, you just muted there, Phil. Sorry. Oh no.
Kidding. Bad joke. Come on, Tom.
You almost got me there, Phil. I'm like, Phil, it's
So I just want to say that, preface my comment that you guys are doing a fabulous job. This is awesome volunteerism to provide something completely different. That being said, the tone of the call was all about the value of the partners through the introductions. But sadly, we didn't introduce any of the pilots. Put your hand up. That's my value. Put my hand up. That's it, fellas. And correct me if I'm wrong. No pilots, no VAC, no Stratford. So just an observation, food for thought. Do what you want with it.
Thanks for bringing that up, Phil. I want to make sure we clarify. Of course, you're absolutely right. No pilots, no VAC. We are the Volunteer Emergency Air Corps, and our service providing to the partners is that we provide air transport through small planes and through airports. And through our pilots to the emergency partners. I want to make very clear when we talk to the partners, and I'm sure all the partners can attest to that. Our offering and our mention of the pilots as core is we cannot operate without the pilots. We cannot operate without their planes, and our offering is just that, the pilots and the planes. So that is core to everything we do. I'm sorry if that didn't come across very clearly in the call today. We wanted to make sure we had time for everything else. But I can promise you that for sure. If you look through our website, through the orientation videos and everything.
Don't mean to be argumentative.
No.
Talk is cheap. You don't introduce the pilots, it's a slight.
Sure, none intended, of course, but we'll make sure to keep that.
Maybe the next.
Well, and sorry, just to be clear, we wanted to also be fair. So we introduced the pilots and asked all the pilots to put their hand up, the same as we did with all of the emergency management partners. So just want to make sure that, I don't know if you missed that part or not, but yeah. So, but point well taken, and we need.
No, and just to keep you to real, we, when we talked about the partners, we called them out by name. Their videos went hot, etc. So
I can assure you, Phil, that's more of a logistical thing for us, making sure we have time for everything. But absolutely, we'll keep that in mind for next one to make sure we've got time and ability to do some of these things with the pilots.
Well, make it longer.
Absolutely.
Just saying.
Yeah, for sure.
The pilots do things for a variety of reasons, and as Mark would attest, a lot of pilots are type A's, and their personalities need to be, managed. And
you're implying emergency management aren't type A personality. I'll just turn to the rest of the group for that. But no, as Chirag said, points well taken. And the other thing I think that's emerging as well is, we're looking forward to where we're all working as one team. And I think you've described us collectively well, and how do we start to form as the VAC? And we very much see the volunteer pilots are part of our EOC, if you look in our emergency response plan, the pilots are part of our emergency response team. And originally, when we did the introductions, we had them as a separate group. And we said, actually, they're not a separate group. Our emergency management partners are our clients. They are a separate group. You know, the airports we need, we rely on, we can't fly without airports, but they're a separate group. But our volunteer pilots, actually, they're part of us. So again, I think, you know, we can probably do better in the future of how we present that. But I think it's also just kind of learning where everybody fits in and working as a team. So we'll get there.
Thanks, Phil. Antoine, I see you've got hands up there.
A very, very practical question. Sorry. Um, so what can I expect, or who can I expect to transport? I mean, I started reading the document and see that could be cargo or people and so on. So just all this will be defined. I mean, I got a Cessna 172. I got 4 seats. I don't expect to unmount the seats and so on to make some cargo room. So just to know the expectations, typically, are we expect to bring people in and out from the event, or that would be practically speaking the kind of real life action we take?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So you will have saw, or you will see as well, you know, kind of no surprise event for pilots. So keeping with that theme, we will make sure that the pilots are aware of what flight requirements we're asking. We're just going through that now. We also want to make it as reasonable as we can for the day. There isn't a pilot that I know, especially that are registered with us, that if we ask them to do something in a real event, they're going to do everything they can, even if, you know, it's a long day or flying, you know, logistically what they might not normally want to do. For the exercise, we're keeping it as, you know, as practical as we can. So, you know, we're trying to align the requirements we have with people's home bases. So I know, Antoine, you're based out of Toronto Island, you know, so we'll have, you know, your passenger probably leave from there. I think we only have maybe 1 or 2 cargo requests, and we're already dealing with pilots or planes that we think will fit that the best. So the week of September the 22nd, and we've been balancing this because it is an exercise, but we want to be mindful of what we're exercising, and we're not exercising, you know, how well can the pilots adapt their aircraft, or how quick can they respond to, you know, a surprise. So the week of the 22nd, the transport coordinators, and that's the way we work. We're lucky to leverage the Canadian Wings of Rescue organization and their transport coordinators who already do this. So essentially, for both the pilots today and the emergency management player partners who are going to be passengers. On a passenger lens, you'll basically kind of have, you know, what would be equivalent to a travel agent working with you, setting it up. And the pilots, you'll basically have, you know, assistant flight coordinator that'll be helping you with logistics. And one-on-one, they'll be reaching out to the pilot, to their passengers, and getting the manifests shared, and that will have all the details in it for you. But unless you've already been, you know, talked to or within the next week, you can expect that it'll be probably a passenger or 2 that you'll be taking, and there'll be no surprises. So hopefully that helps out, and we'll start making those one-on-one calls next week.
Okay, excellent.
What we won't be showing, I don't know if there's another question lined up or not, Trog. Oh, yeah, we'll let Neil go, but
Thank you. I received the request from Associate Director Operations West of Transport Canada, and he had basically asked, I have a meeting with the mayor and himself, wanted to know his role. I was just prepared to say this, there is not really a role. This is more of an education and exposure. And that would be safe to say, right?
I think so. Could you just, sorry, I missed the first part. Who are you talking?
His name's Blake Scott. He's the Associate Director Operations West for Transport Canada.
Okay, yeah, no, from a Transport Canada lens, you know, it's operations normal at and Andy can chip in here, the airport manager, but it's operations normal. You guys probably have much busier flight days, but we're not looking for any thing that would be out of the ordinary, with the exception of the drone team. And again, that's not part of our exercise, and I don't think, Francesco, the drone pilots are actually on today. But again, that's on our immediate to-do list to make sure, that any regulatory requirements of the drone operation, NOTAM at the airport, but they'll all be within normal operations. You're correct, Neil.
Perfect. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks, Neil. We've got Susan and then Martin. So go ahead, Susan.
I was just wondering whether or not my organization is responsible for contacting the 2 airports that we will be using.
Yeah, again, I can field that one, and the answer is no. That being said, and good to see you again, Susan. We've worked together, and looking forward to flying the K9 teams. I know our social media person, Cheryl, who's on today, but I think we had talked maybe about that. So, if there's going to be a huge disruption at the airport, then as a courtesy, we can contact them, and that's something our organization is more than willing to do. But again, from a regulatory point of view, it'll be just operations flight normal for the pilots. And we'll be making those arrangements with our transport coordinators. Anything we want to do above and beyond that, we can talk about, but it would be basically just a courtesy call. They may not have K9 teams showing up every day, but we can work with you and do that cooperatively. But it would be just a courtesy call.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Susan. Go ahead, Martin.
Thanks very much. So from the perspective of my organization, Civil Military Cooperation for 32 Brigade in Ontario, I'm looking at this right now, and please let me know if there's other roles that you would like us to take on. But as observation would be one, and sort of a learning experience, sort of to try and connect our capabilities with the services and capabilities that you demonstrate in this exercise. We will take advantage of that opportunity to present what our capabilities and services are. There'll be a couple of us that come up. Our plan is to join you in Stratford at this moment, but if you want us to join you somewhere else, we could potentially arrange for that as well. I wanted to ask you if you have information on the aircraft that will be participating, on, if they were to be transporting cargo and personnel, what would that look like? For example, how many people, what weight could you carry, and what would be the dimensions of equipment that we could bring into an aircraft, and how far you might be able to transport that. And the reason I ask that is just for our own, situational awareness, so that we can connect that to what our services, our capabilities, and our needs to deploy those capabilities might be, and how they would connect to what you do. For example, would you be able to transport a 4-person tactical CIMIC team and their equipment, into a community in Northern Ontario? If you have that kind of information, that would be very helpful for us, so that we could do a little bit of our own analysis on this end before the X.
Yeah, absolutely. To your first few points, first of all, we're very excited to have you come to the exercise as an observer in whichever capacity. And then for the other EM groups on the call, I think it'll be interesting as well to hear about what your organization does, because not just with ourselves, but I think the military connection with the K9 teams and the Salvation Army, and all the other teams that are here today will be crucial. So we're excited to see that connection. Can absolutely arrange for that talk to happen. We do have which aircraft are going to be a part, what their weights are and sizes, et cetera, et cetera. So we can put that together and share with you. And I know we're chatting a little bit later today as well, so can answer a bit more detail there. But yeah, excited to have you present to the other EM folks, and to give everyone else a heads up. I think that'll be an interesting kind of conversation or talk to be a part of that day. Any other
Just to
questions?
jump in there really quick here, Martin. So one of the things that we've sent out, I don't know, we've sent it to you yet, is a partner manifest that we're basically expecting back, and this is basically what the weights and of who and what cargo would be basically sent to location. So that's something that we would give to you, and then you fill out, send back to us, and then we decide what aircraft, how many planes are needed, that kind of thing, to actually transport that from which location to which location. Obviously, which pilot would be volunteering their time as well for that. So we'll work with you shortly on that.
Sure, yeah, I haven't received that. If you are asking for an actual, like a manifest, a cargo and personnel to carry around, I'd have to check into whether or not we're authorized to actually do that. To climb into your planes and carry our equipment, but that would be an interesting, an interesting exercise for us.
Okay. Well, that's something I think that you and Trog and then can chat about later, and then I'll get involved as needed. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions or comments here? Not seeing any more there, Zach.
Yeah, I think we got a couple minutes. I'm always good to fill a couple minutes. But I'll just pick up on Martin to answer your question. And again, I know we're speaking again later, but we have some generic information, but just an opportunity to point out this is the exercise. So not all pilots that are registered with us are available for the exercise for different reasons. Geographically, some just, their plane isn't available. Some of them, they're not available. They're away on vacation. So, this is a portion of the registered aircraft we have. So that being said, we are trying to align so that there's a diversity so that people can see a bit of a range of what we have to offer, but we can give you some generic information for that as well. And then again, just an opportunity to put out, going back to, I think to Neil, raise some of what we'd be doing and how, but the alerts, and this is to the pilots, we will be doing some early alerting because part of our testing is for our D4H. And if you haven't yet, please do watch the orientation videos, and you will have seen a little bit about the D4H software that we're using, in case you're wondering what the heck is D4H. So part of our testing, especially to the pilots, will start on the Wednesday. And it's essentially getting one email. So, don't worry, we're sensitive. Many of you are at work or busy. And then I believe Thursday, you'll get 3 more emails. So they go from kind of an alert to a notification. And then at that point, you'll switch over and you start working with individually with our transport coordinators. So all of that is part of our exercise and what's important to us that not everybody will see. But I just wanted to give a heads up to the pilots of what they can expect on that front as well. Okay, that's it for me, I think, Zach.
I guess no more questions. So
I think, hold on, Zach. I think Gordon here has a hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking over the list of people that are in this meeting. I'm a little disappointed that I'm actually the only one from COPA 26 in Kitchener, but I think a lot of our guys may be working at this time of day as well. I don't know how many actually registered from our COPA flight. I'm certainly willing to continue to promote this, but I'm kind of with Phil. Like so far, I feel like I know you're going to reach out to us and get in touch with us, but as a pilot, I feel a little bit in the dark at the moment. I'm not exactly sure what the expectations are or what's going to be happening between now and then. The day you mentioned 2 airports, I know about Stratford. What's the second airport? Yeah, I just feel like I've been volunteering for Hope Air, and one of the issues I've had with them is 9 times out of 10, the way they schedule things, I can't schedule that far in advance to know the weather as a BFR pilot. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a few things we can talk about there. And again, we've got some homework to do ourselves in getting out to pilots. there isn't a flight that I don't go to and have a presentation or talk about, that there's a lot of pilots that are interested. And, step one is understanding what you're signing up for, and that's our Volunteer Emergency Air Corps. And that's in case there's a large disaster. Of course, pilots want to get out and help. This is preparation for that. So again, this event will be a no surprises event. So starting next week, we will be reaching out to individuals like yourself, Gord, that have signed up for VAC and also want to participate in this exercise. There's probably another, I don't know, 15, 20 pilots that are registered for VAC that just aren't available, can't come to this particular exercise, but we still got, our homework to do with them to take the certificate course, and follow through with some of our training. So it's like, signing up to this core, means you're part of an organization, and we'll continue to do that. The exercise itself, though, I think you'll see very quickly next week once we start issuing some of those things. Again, it'll be no surprises, but you will know ahead of time what we're asking you to do. But there's actually about 5 or 6 airports that people will be flying from. So Kitchener is one of those. You'll probably be asked to take a passenger from Kitchener to Stratford. That helps us simulate that we can take an organization's personnel from point A to point B. So there'll be, there are pilots based out of different airports. Wherever they leave from, is simulating a flight that we can take a passenger or cargo from that. Susan's on the call, her K9 teams, they're flying because of what they want to do and want some, remoteness for their dogs to be able to practice. We're flying them from Smith Falls, I believe, to Aurelia, for example. But those pilots will know what they're doing. It's just collectively, we haven't got all of that mapped out yet, and it is an exercise. So, we really won't have what that looks like until the exercise is done and we can debrief in Stratford.
That sounds good. And you mentioned you have reached out and spoke to Copa Flights potentially in the coming months. Maybe you'd like to come to Copa 26.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to. And, as I'm sure Gord, we can talk about Copa flights, but yeah, we've sent notices to all the Copa captains, and, sometimes you get responses back and sometimes you don't. So kudos to you and thanks for joining. I'd love to get out to some more of the flights. I know there are pilots out there that don't even know about this. And I hear that all the time. So I think we've got, a lot of work we can do there. And we're working with Copa National as well to try to get this message out. So this is the start. And I think, that's the good news is I think there's a lot we can do going forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Maybe we'll take one more question to end off. So go ahead, Phil.
So I know you mentioned earlier that there's will to be part of when VAC operationally executes a real emergency disaster response, that we have to be trained and certificated, not required for this event. But since I have copious amounts of time on my hands, I like to get things done well in advance. And would it be possible, I've been on the Alliance North website and part of perhaps added, the appropriate links to the website to the document that I just pulled down regarding the exercise plan for Airbridge. That would be super awesome rather than me trying to hunt and figure out where it is and just get it done. That would be awesome, guys.
We can absolutely do that. Yeah, well, that's a good point. So we'll send out maybe another comms to pilots with those attached along with the website link. And if you'd like to get a head start on the course, we're happy to sign you up as a beta taker and provide us your feedback. That would be really helpful.
Yeah, see, like I have always two sides of a coin, right? I've got the nice Phil and the bad Phil.
Phil, we've worked with you for quite a while. We are very well aware of you and we love working with you.
And those documents are now posted. They weren't originally, but we've now added them to the event page. And I don't know if Mike's on the call, but Mike's one of our volunteers. He's doing a tremendous job keeping updating, making our website look a little bit better and certainly more functional. So those two documents, both our emergency response plan as well as the exercise plan, are now on the site. So we can add those things there as well. For sure.
Awesome. I know we're just getting to the end of time here, so I don't want to keep people late. I know, Gordon, you have a question, so maybe, Zach, we could wrap up the call here, but Gordon, if you want to stay on for a few minutes, we're happy to chat with you about any question you might have.
All I wanted to say is you can sign me up for the beta as well.
Perfect. Awesome. We will sign you both up. Thanks, Gordon. I'll hand it back over to you there, Zach.
Yeah, awesome. I just wanted to just generally say a few minutes left here, but thank you everybody for joining. Obviously, thank you to all the organizations. Thank you to all the volunteers. Thank you to all the pilots. And of course, City of Stratford and all the staff there as well. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to contact me. And like I said, this is recorded, so that will be available to give to people who may not have been able to make the call, or if you have a team that you're sending and you'd like to review them, please have them just review the video quickly here, or definitely the orientation videos. But once again, a big thank you. I'm available, so was Trog and Mark as well, and Trevor and the entire team here. So thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting you all in person on the 27th in Stratford. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.